I was in the 7th grade when this incident took place. I was playing with my friends during PE when all of a sudden our coach told us to run to the locker room because it was a code red, which meant a real lockdown my classmates. And I ran to the locker room. And I'd like to mention that around the middle of 7th grade my leg was sprained, so I couldn't run properly when we were running to the locker room. It was pretty difficult for me when we were all in the locker room, some of us were. Curious if it was a real lockdown or not. I personally thought it was a prank since it was April 1st. That day some of my classmates were acting like idiots talking about how they were going to beat up the shooters after what felt like half an hour. The school said through the intercom that the code red was now a code yellow, which meant that students and teachers had to stay in their rooms and not leave. For some reason our coach thought that since the school was under a code yellow, it was all right to take all of us back outside. I was appalled that our coach was actually okay with taking us outside while technically still under lockdown. I don't know what my coach was thinking, possibly putting all of us 7th graders in danger. When there's a code yellow, it means there's activity happening outside the school. So it's still not right to go outside. Looking back, I realized that our 7th grade coach was pretty lazy. He didn't talk to us much and seemed more like a simple replacement teacher than anything anyways. All of my classmates followed my coach outside, but I had a bad feeling inside, so I decided to stay in the locker room. My friend questioned why I would stay, but I didn't really look, so I just stayed behind all by myself. I felt a little nervous being alone in the locker room, but thankfully I had my phone to keep me company. After an hour, my class returned, and nobody noticed that I stayed inside. After heading to my next class, I found out everything that happened during the lockdown. It turned out that somebody got stabbed and possibly killed in the Wawa gas station right next to our school during the code yellow. While everyone went back outside, the perpetrator went to the school and almost jumped the fence. When everyone saw him, they all took off running inside the building, but thankfully he didn't make it inside the school. I couldn't believe that this was happening, especially because it was April Fool's Day. This was 2 years ago, and now I'm a freshman in high school. But I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I followed my class outside. If the perpetrator had managed to jump the fence, he could have easily caught me. First, since my leg was hurting at the time, I only have myself to thank for being smart and staying inside the locker room where it was safe. I am an 18-year-old woman who lives in the UK. My neighborhood is fairly safe, but there are some break-ins here. And I am a Muslim, which is important to the story. This story takes place as I'm writing this on the 8th of November, 2023. It was around 5 p.m. So it was dark. I was watching Ladybug and Cat, and where my family were all at work. So I had no choice but to stay home anyway. We have a light outside of our house, which turns on whenever someone is at the door. So you will know I was sitting on the sofa waiting for my family to get back. But then the light turned on. Carefully I got up and looked outside, but none of my family's cars were there. I saw the light was on, so I looked through the window, but there was nothing. I started to freak out at this point, so I put my scarf on and sat back down again. Then the light turned on. I peeked again, and my heart dropped. There someone was jumping over the neighbor's fence. I tapped this on the window by accident, and he faced towards me. His face was pale white, and he had a white shirt with blood dripping from his nose. His eyes locked onto mine. His eyes were dark brown, but they turned bloodshot red. As soon as he saw me, I couldn't look away as I was in so much fear. I sprinted upstairs so fast and tried to text my parents. All of my siblings were at work, so I was worried they wouldn't text back. Then I heard huge footsteps coming up the driveway. A laugh so cunning it was him. After there were no sounds. I stood in the hallway upstairs, which is right near the bathroom. I stood near the toilet door and sneezed. Then as I was about to say something, I heard "bless you" in a dark demonic voice. My heart was beating faster and faster at this point. I was terrified. I locked and closed all the windows and doors and crept down the stairs. Suddenly there was a light knock at the door. Then as I watched from the stairs, he screamed through the flap, "Murderer," as a Hijabi, I'm used to people commenting on my appearance or pointing. 6 minutes and 34 seconds. Always wondered what would have happened if I had taken my scarf off as a hijabi or if I had opened the door. Were no sounds. I stood in the hallway upstairs, which is right near the bathroom. I stood near the toilet door and sneezed in as I was about to say something. I heard "bless you" in a dark, demonic voice. My heart was beating faster and faster at this point. I was terrified. I locked and closed all the windows and doors and crept down the stairs. Suddenly, there was a light knock at the door. Then, as I watched from the stairs, he screamed through the flap, "Murderer as a hijabi, I'm used to people commenting on my appearance or pointing." So I wasn't surprised. He whispered, "Take it off." His bloody lips were all over the door flap. I recited my prayers louder and louder. Then I heard a car door slam. My dad and brother were home. I was so relieved. The man removed his eyes from the flap and ran. I'm still in shock after what happened. I told my family, and they promised never to leave me home alone again. The man was apparently a criminal. He would spy on houses for days and then rob them. Please stay safe. It's a cruel world out there. But I always wondered what would have happened if I had taken my scarf off as a hijabi or if I had opened the door.